Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now I don't have a whole lot of time today. I snuck over here this morning to do a little work. Mama Warner and I have some stuff planned for later today, but I got something I want to try to get accomplished. Two things I want to get accomplished. I want to get the front end put on here, and before I can put the front end on, I want to get the VIN tag reattached. Now, I took it completely off. It was in pretty rough shape. The bottom pin here had the tag had been ripped loose and it was kind of all bent up, and so I just went ahead and took it all off. Now you can purchase new pins to repin this back on, but this one is, like I said, is in kind of rough shape. So all I'm going to do is use some double-sided tape and put on here and then see if we can stick it on, and hopefully that'll hold tight. Now there is another VIN number down here on the frame. So, you know, if this doesn't stay on, it's not really a big deal. There is a VIN number on the frame, but I kind of like for that to be back on there if I could. So I've just got this Gorilla Glue or Gorilla tape, and I'm going to try and put this on here. I guess you put it on and then, how do I hold it? I need another hand. Somebody come help me. You know what? I'm not going to worry about getting it close to the edge. I'll just cut off any extra. But I bought this because it was 1 inch wide, which is essentially the same width as the tag. Yeah, I'm not doing so well here. There we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, let's get that excess off so I don't have to wrestle that. Okay, so I'm just going to push that on there. And you can actually get brand new tags made. There's a couple different companies out there that do it online. I've never had it done, so I can't speak for you know, how that goes or what it costs or anything, but all right, so I put a little extra on the end. I'm going to trim that off. Trim this one to the shape that this VIN tag now is. All right, and then there is a film that is on the back. That somehow you pull it loose without pulling the tape back off. Well, I'm going to play with that for a minute because I can't seem to, well, maybe there, did I get it there? No. All right. Let me play with it for a second. There it goes. I think I got it now. Yeah, if this double-sided tape is so good, oh boy, it is stuck. I was going to say, why doesn't it just stick to this thing on the back? Well, it is sticking to the thing on the back. Wow. I think that's the stickier side. This may not go as planned. I can't get the stuff off the back side of it. All right, I'll be back in just a second. Let me see if I can figure this one out. It's not perfect, but it's on there. I think it'll stay on. The side that you peel the covering off on the second side, way stickier than the first side. I had a heck of a time getting that off, but I think the tape will stick to the frame super easy. I'm worried about the tape sticking to the tag, but it seems to be holding. I don't have a title for the bike or anything, so you know it's not like, you know, if it falls off, it falls off. But I think we're good for right now. Let's get the forks put on. Okay, I'm ready to throw the forks onto the frame. I went ahead and loaded up the bottom race full of grease. Kind of dark, can't see it. I have loaded up the top race full of grease and the 21 loose ball bearings. And I've done the same on the race here that was on the forks, loaded up with some grease and then placed, yeah, you can't really see them. There's 21 ball bearings that go around that. Not the greatest engineering design in my mind the Honda used with the whole loose ball bearing thing. I'm pretty sure in 1969 they had caged bearings. I'm not sure why they didn't go with that, but this is what they did, and these are the pieces I have. That's what I'm going to put back on there. You can buy new races and bearings to do a caged thing and put in there, and those are available online. I think there's a couple different companies that make it, but I'm just going to go back with stock. I'm just using just a regular all-purpose grease. I bought this many years ago, and it's served me well. That's just what I've thrown in there in case anybody wants to know what type of grease I use. I don't know. It's just regular old grease. So, all right, let's get that fed up through there and bolted onto the frame. I do want to be a little bit careful here not to knock the ball bearings out of the top. Okay. There is a race that fits over the threaded shaft. Kind of push it around until you get all the bearings to line up. And then you've got your grease cap. Oh, I should check the threads on that before I started all this. Oh, there it goes. And that will just thread down and put pressure on that race you just put on there, and kind of squeeze the whole thing together. And we've squeezed out all kind of excess grease, but we'll clean that up. Is my socket deep enough? I don't think I can, maybe I can't use it like that. And then I have a socket that I modified to fit. Come here. I have a socket that I modified to fit that little pin thing there. So we'll tighten that down, but that feels pretty good. Yeah, awesome. Okay, I'm gonna tighten it down, get a ratchet. It doesn't need to be super tight. You want to make sure it will spin. And spin freely. They make there's a guy out there that makes a tool for this. Actually, it's like a 3-in-1 wrench that fits this. I think it fits the handlebar knobs, the little piece on that, and it fits the top nut after you put the clamp on. It fits this, and it looks like it's a pretty good piece. I saw Patrick Wells using it the other day in a video, and he kind of struggled with it, especially on this piece. The length of it and the hole for this was in the middle, and the forks and things were kind of in the way. I find that this socket's just way easier. So anyway, all right. I am extremely happy with that. I'm going to clean this up and call it a day for today, and we'll continue the video as we start assembling the rest of the bike. Well, before I wrap this up today, I think I'm going to go ahead and throw this top clamp on here also. This little nut right here has a step down that fits inside that hole. Make sure that that is seated in that hole. I'm just going to go ahead and throw the nut on it, just to kind of hold it in place. All right, and then you have bolts that go through and into the top of your forks. Guys, she's starting to come together a little bit at a time. All right, now I think I'm going to call it a day. All right, so we're a couple more days down the road. As you can see, I've thrown the seat on it. Now, this is one of those, I can't remember where I got it. It's either Bart Moto or SoCal Mini Trail. I think they sell the same seat. We've used them a couple times in the past. So far, every time I've used one, I had to tweak it just a little bit. I've not had one just bolt on and be ready to go. The issues I've run into are either that these pads are too thick and they hold the seat up too high, it won't reach the latch, or the catch here is welded too far back toward the back of the seat, and it misses the catch or misses the latch. So first thing we want to do is we're going to throw a latch on it and see how it does fit. All right, let's see what happens here. See how it. Okay, I think that this is welded in the right spot. That looks like that's going to catch. But the seat does not go down far enough. Excuse me. It does not go down far enough for the latch to come back and actually catch it. So we've got to come up with a way of trimming down the little rubber bumpers here and making them a little shorter so that the seat will sit down just a little bit farther. All right, really didn't do anything too exciting. Rather just took a knife and trimmed off some thickness of those pads up here. And I think I've got it pretty good. The latch, I believe it's coming back, and yeah, it's catching, and I actually got lucky. I didn't do any kind of measurements. I just started kind of whittling, and it's not too loose either. It's not flopping around. All right, so let's start bolting on some other parts. Let's start kind of putting this thing together. I think I want to go ahead and put the fender and the tail light and all those sorts of things. So let's just start bolting some parts on it. And I'm just going with some used fenders, so they're not perfect. They cleaned up pretty well, but they do have some light scratching and so forth on them. But I'm quite all right with it. I think they look okay. The taillight bracket is, as you can tell, it's not a stock or original style CT70. It's a dock style European model that they sell. It's the cheap ones that they sell on eBay. But it holds the correct looking tail light. I can cut these off or put, I've seen some guys put a little reflector. This was the turn signal holder for the European models, that had turn signals. I'm not putting turn signals on this bike, so. Just like that, it's starting to come together. That looks pretty nice. I like that. Yeah, that looked, I like the look of that. That looks pretty nice. I think I might probably wind up cutting those off, but we'll see. We'll go from there. I don't have the swing. Ordered a new swing arm bolt. I think it's coming in later today, so I don't have that. So I can't put the swing arm and shocks and so forth on. So let's move to the front and put the front fender and maybe start putting the handlebars on and doing some things like that. The front fender is held on by 3 bolts, and one of them bolts right up here in the center of the stem for the steering stem. And it's nice to put that one in first to kind of let the fender hang while you do the other ones. The other 2 bolts also, that's where the horn mounts. So we've got to grab a horn. Just kind of let that hang there. Now, if you might remember, this bike had a silver tag horn on it. And I didn't grab long enough bolts. Hang on a second. This bike had this front end had a silver tag horn on it when we first, in the very first video, when we did the walk around and kind of looked at it. But I'm keeping the silver tag horn. I'm not putting it back on here. I'm going to save it for a project down the road. So this is just a eBay or Amazon horn. Awesome. Quite do anything with the handlebars yet today. I'm out of the little rubber grommets that go, for the cables come through out of the handlebars. So I believe those are coming in today from Trail Buddy, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Looking really, really good. I like it. Going to be a clean little bike. All right, let me do some thinking on what parts I want to put on next. I think we'll loosely bolt the headlight on, just to make sure that the horn isn't interfering. And all right, I think I'll grab the wiring harness and let's start. Can we do that? Don't try not to get ahead of myself here. Yeah, I think I can go ahead and put the wiring harness in next, so I think I'll grab that. I don't have any of the rims and tires yet. We may add that later in this video, start getting some rims and stuff ready, but I think I'm gonna put the wiring harness in it next. Before I drop the wiring harness in it, I want to go ahead and put the speedometer in the bucket. And I don't think that we have gone through and checked out the speedometer to make sure it works and so forth. So we're going to run through the little wiring harnesses here and check those out. I want to check and see if these bulbs are any. These are the 6-volt bulbs, but if they're good, I want to keep them. Does not seem to be any good. We're not getting any light on that one. That was the high beam indicator. It probably got blown out at some point. Let's check the just the illumination bulb here. Oh, that one's good. So we'll keep that as a 6-volt bulb. Let's put this one in this holder. Make sure it's not the holder. And No, that bulb's dead. Okay, it's amazing that that one bulb survived. So that one is trash. All right, so we know that the holder should be good. We should have a 12-volt bulb here. We do. All right, so that's the illumination for the speedometer. Let's see if make sure the high beam indicator is going to work. There it is. Yeah, so it does work. So we're good there. All right, so the other thing I want to test is the speedometer itself. Make sure that it does spin and read somewhat correctly. All right. Oh yeah. Yep, it works just fine. All right, so we can go ahead and put the bulbs back in it and drop the speedometer into the headlight bucket. The wiring harness I'm going to install is the same one I use on most of my, or all of my builds that don't use turn signals, and that is the TB515. That's the part number. It comes from Trail Buddy. And it's a harness that's designed specifically to be kind of plug and play with a Lifan engine in a bike like a K1 or a K0 that doesn't have turn signals. It does not have the wiring for a turn signal in it. It just has headlight, taillight, and horn. Now I'm using a key switch that I picked up off of Amazon that is for a K0, and I have rewired it to fit this harness, basically because I wanted to use a stock style looking key. So, all right, I think I need to come around there. Yeah, I guess maybe I really do need to have my arm down that frame to kind of guide it. I was hoping maybe to stay out of camera view and to be able to do this, but hang on just a second. I'm gonna have to do it this way, fellas. When you put the key in it. This particular key switch, the way I've got it wired, and this wiring harness the key switch does not need to be grounded. So I'm not worried about paint and those other things. All right, let me get that tightened down, and then we'll finish kind of fishing the rest of the wiring harness through. One of the reasons I like to use this key switch is because it retains the function of the original Honda CT70. It's got an off position, shuts everything down. It's got one click, which allows you to run the engine, but no lights. And then a second click that will turn on the lights, so if you want to ride at night or whatever. But yeah, that's another reason I like to use that switch, because it does allow me to have the same function, gives you more of the feel of an original CT70. I've got the wiring harness all put inside the frame. I put a brake switch on the other side. I've got it plugged into the harness. I put the little rubber grommet on the other side here, where the harness exits the front of the frame and so forth. So that's all kind of ready to go. We're here at the connection for the engine. Now, you might notice that this engine has 2 wiring harnesses coming out of it. The one with the green plug is just for gear selection. On this particular bike, since we're using a K0 speedometer, does not have a neutral indicator bulb in it. So we are not going to plug in any of these wires that tells you what gear the engine is in or the transmission is in. I will add a link in the description to my video, to this video, of a video that I posted that goes over and details how this all works and how you can figure out what wires go to what gear and so forth. But for this particular bike, this harness is not going to be used, so we're just going to wind up just pushing it inside the frame. So what we do need are these wires that will correspond with the wires that come out of the frame from the harness. And it, like I said, Trail Buddy makes this, so it's pretty much just plug and play, wire color to wire color. Now when I get done here, there will be 1 extra wire that is not being used from the harness, and that is that neutral indicator wire. So like I said, this bike, the speedometer that we're using does not have a neutral indicator bulb in it, or we would use that. So that's that wire right there, the green and red. So the rest of them are white to white, yellow to yellow, green to green, black and red to black and red, blue and white to blue and white. So we will stuff all that up in there. Now we may have to pull it all back out when we go to drop the tank and the fuel lines and so forth. And you can see I've dropped a coil down in it, got the coil plugged into the harness, so pretty much ready to go there. One of the things that I have to do is build a bracket to hold the tank. This particular frame did not have I don't think it had a tank in it, nor did it have the bracket that holds the tank. And I don't have any extras, so we're actually going to see if we can't program one out on the plasma table and cut one out. I do the similar type of thing for the 12-volt battery box that you'll see later. But I think that's what I'm going to work on next, is see if I can figure out a bracket that I can build to put here to hold the gas tank in place. All right, guys, here's what I've come up with. This is a bracket I've made. I stole the bracket off of that little H bike over there just to have something to pattern it off of. So that's an original bracket. And so I have plasma cut out something out of about 14 gauge steel. We'll see how it fits here. This is a brand new tank I got from Mike's Mini Trail. I plug off the on or the regular line, and I've got just one line on the reserve because the carburetor that I'm going to put on just has one line, and I don't really care for the the petcocks, the aftermarket petcocks, the 2 into 1 type of thing. So we're not going to use that. I'm not going to use that on this bike. All right, so put the tank in there now. That little rubber grommet right there is expensive. Man, that thing is, that rubber grommet's like 20 bucks or better or something like that. Unless you guys have a source for them and let me know. I can make this bracket with a bigger hole so that it will accommodate that grommet. This is what I'm talking about. This is the one that came off of the original bracket. So instead of using the grommet, I just made a smaller hole to fit right over top of the tank. And you know what? I'm not going to tighten it down because I'm probably going to take it back off to paint it black. But put the cap on there for you. But you know what? That's going to be good enough for me. Tank doesn't really move around. Let me take you out of here so you can see it a little bit better. And I may even fill up these little slots that I made to make that tab easier to bend. I may fill those up with some weld and then grind them back smooth. But that's pretty much what I've got. And I think that's going to work. So, and it's... Well, I don't have it tight, so it's kind of moving, but yeah. Anyway, all right, I think I'm actually going to wrap today's video up there. Well, sorry, that was not very graceful. I think I'm going to wrap it up there. Kind of, I'm taking my time on this bike. I'm in no hurry, so there's going to be a few more videos. I need to break down some tires, clean up some rims, clean the hubs up, do those sorts of things. I'm still waiting on quite a few parts to come in. I did order the grommets and stuff for the handlebars. They're only a couple bucks, and I've got a swing arm bolt. So anyway, it's going to be more to be done on this. But I think for today, we'll go ahead and wrap that up, and I'll see you guys on the next video.